Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Will.
And you have the old guys again. We're going to have to rename this show.
Relax.
If Brian is still sick, continuing, we're going to have to rename the show to just the old guys rule.
Yeah. No, I'm old, but my brain is still like a 17, 18-year-old. So
I know.
I still think I could do what you guys can do. So
but that's my joke to people. I'm like, remember I always talk to you like you're just hanging out at a backyard barbecue. Hey, the other day I was actually in another conversation. I was talking about the Uncle Nemo story.
Wow.
And I don't know, most people probably don't know this, but when you said you guys sent flowers when one of our daughters was born, it said "Love Tanya" and Uncle Nemo, not Memo.
Yeah.
So all of you who affectionately know him as Memo, he's also Uncle Nemo. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's no shortage of drama in mortgage and real estate land in San Diego and in the market at large. Obviously, look, what's dominating the headlines now is just Trump. All the Doge stuff and what government departments are being closed. I intentionally did not include the CFPB in part of our conversation today because I think there's more on that later.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to cover that. So for those of you who don't know what the CFPB is, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau was created after the financial collapse of 2008 and 9, and then all the rules that subsequently followed. They basically got their version of a cease and desist, stop everything. don't do anything until we figure out what's going to happen next. So
I was used to it, putting my hands up right away.
Oh my God. Yeah. What the heck? What was that about right there?
Yeah. CFPB. Who? What?
Oh my God. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. There you go.
Not the CHB.
Yeah. No. Oh, those are the wrong guys.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the CFPB rolling through the door with the siren?
Yeah. Whoa.
They're holding a siren. We're the CFPB. We're here to look at your records. Oh, God. We better start this show. Otherwise, it's going to just stay off the rails. So we're going to start today with talking about ADUs here in San Diego. So we've talked about this a lot. So before you switch off, okay. No, there's actually some dissenting opinion about.
It was crazy.
Yeah, so not everyone is on board, and I understand their reasons, but I also understand the proponents of saying no, this is really good. So this is from the San Diego Union Tribune, so it's local here to us in San Diego. Should San Diego rework its ADU bonus program? So most people don't even know that there is a bonus program, which is basically build as many as you can on the spot, on the available space. So I want to know what you think about this. I know we're going to talk about some of the details, but what do you think about this bonus program? Is it a pro? Is it a con? Where do you kind of find yourself?
For me, I love it. I think it's a great thing. It's a great, since the developers aren't actually developing out there as fast as, one can. I think California bringing this ADU program, it's a good thing for investors. So many of you who do not know what an ADU is, an accessory dwelling unit. So nowadays, you can create your garage, a 2-car garage, into a 1-bedroom, a studio, and then rent that out. That helps homeowners. Well, the ADU encourages new homeowners to want to do that, to bring in a little more income to help them offset their current expenses.
Yeah, to alleviate demand in our market where there's just not enough units. And I think I kind of fall. Is there a middle in here? I want to say I fall in the middle of this because I understand the need to meet the demand. We need more units, and we need them to be affordable units. Well, how do we do that if developers aren't going to build, or we're out of land, or accept? Okay, well then we have to use existing spaces.
Correct.
And then how do we convert some of that? Remember back in the day, people would buy apartment complexes and do a condo conversion.
Yep.
This is basically that, but on the more micro scale,
Yeah.
Maybe one garage at a time or one lot that gets additional units at a time. So I think that it's useful, but it does create its problems as well. I know they're mentioning parking is one of them, but that's not the only issue. It's honestly not the only issue.
It's a little bit of everything, right? ADUs have been in existence forever. I remember going to friends' houses and their garage was converted into already a livable space. Extra bedroom, kind of like that black sheep kid, right? Put them out over there in the garage. So let's make them a bedroom over there.
And for those of you who love your family member, the granny flat,
granny flat,
but
right?
The black sheep room or the granny flat.
Yeah, there you go. So these things already have popularity a long time ago. The only difference is before it was very costly to do. And so people would just take the initiative just doing it themselves. But when they're looking to do an appraisal or anything, they had to remove the stove out of there. So they were doing things illegally. Now is the right time to do everything legally. And now you're able to do that. It's powerful.
You're suggesting there's a time to do things legally and illegally.
Yeah,
now's the time to do it legally.
Yeah, here's the point of being with that. is what people don't understand. If there's a fire that's caught in that place that's not legally permitted, most of the time insurance companies will not insure, because fires, it's not like, oh, this is illegally done with no permits, we're going to stay right there and confine ourselves there, right? It's going to go into the next area. And so if it burns the other house, it's like, that wasn't our fault.
Yeah, the fire has no conscience of what part it's burning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's an indiscriminate burner.
That's right. So I always encourage people to just do the things the right way. It states here the popularity of the program has picked up significantly, with 787 ADUs approved last year under the incentive. I don't know what incentive is, you know, because I'm going through it. I didn't get incentivized as an investor. It was like I still paid high money for the permits, and you know, I'm in 2 school districts, so I had to go to Eastlake and Chula Vista and pay dues to them, you know, for our permits. It says, however, anti-density groups have argued the large ADU projects destroy community character and create parking nightmares.
So what I was hoping to do is I noted a couple things that like I kind of agree with, and then some things I disagree with. So can I share some of those with you?
Yeah,
you can
please.
be like, you agree or disagree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thumbs down.
So thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs down, thumbs up. Okay. So one of the first guys here was like, so the question posed to all these people who answered this was, should San Diego rework its ADU bonus program? First guy, no. All programs can be included, so can be improved. So my answer could be yes. So he's basically saying no because he just thinks, okay, well, that can be improved. Like that's dumb. So smaller lots equal more density, no matter how it's provided. Now, this next guy is like, should they rework the ADU program? This guy's like, no, because building additional housing should be a high priority for the city. Agree. Building more housing should be a high priority for the city. Any argument there?
Yeah, no.
No? Okay. Should it be reworked? Yes, because building more supply is key to bringing prices down. Do we agree with that or not agree with that?
Yeah.
But do you think it'll happen? Because I understand the economic theory. We talk about supply and demand a lot, right?
Supply and demand, correct.
I understand the economic theory, but do you think that would happen?
I mean, if we build fast enough and we're still not building it, but yeah.
Okay. So the other point they were making as kind of an attachment to that was allowing multiple ADUs, not just 1 or 2 on single properties, should be reconsidered. So do you agree or disagree that should be like allowed, or do you think you should put more than 2 on the lot that your main house is on?
Yeah, if the square footage allows it to. And so every property, different properties have different zonings, right? And so some allow you to be 1% of your FAR, your floor area ratio. And then there's other zonings that do 1 1/4, right? And so what you do is you go to your let's say it's at 1 1/4, you multiply that by the square footage of your lot, and that's what you're able to build in square footage. So that could equate to, 3 units, 4 units. And as long as you have the space, well, why not? Don't we build that here when you go to Eastlake here and there's, 10 units or townhomes? I mean, they're doing it.
Yeah. So
what's the difference?
So part of it is contingent on your available space of your
Absolutely.
lot that's not currently occupied by your house. Your house size has a part to play in this.
Yeah.
If you have a big sprawling house that's a single story and taking up most of your square footage, well, you're going to be able to have less on there.
Yeah.
Or you got a 2-story place that has a lot of open space in the backyard. You could probably put a couple.
Exactly.
So
the way they're making it seem here is, remember, all these ADU rules that are coming in with different zonings of different homes, they're able to build a certain amount. The city understands what it looks like. It's not like they're just kind of throwing things together and let's see what it looks like. There's planning ahead of it. Somebody can't build their home right now within 2 months. It's virtually impossible for somebody to build that quick because you have an inspector that has to come and inspect everything. And then you have to provide plans before you get an approval with the city. You have to show where your parking is going to be, if some areas require the parking, and if some don't. Let me tell you this. There is a project in South Park right now in San Diego. They built, I want to say, like 40 units, right? And so the parking's limited. Guess what property is not selling right now? Now that the investor's looking to turn it and sell it, he's having a hard time.
Really?
Yes, because there's no parking. Other investors that are looking to buy into that, they're like, wait a minute, we're going to have issues here.
Wow.
So that's the problem that an investor can face too, and rethink, I should have done underground parking.
Yeah. So there's one I saw actually in North Park probably a couple of weeks ago, and it looked like it was maybe 200 to 400 units.
Yeah.
And there is no parking at all. Like it's like some of those places that are downtown where it's like, no, this is a live work space, like, or not live work, but I mean, you're going to live in the building and you work nearby, like near enough to take your walk or to take your bike or even take an Uber for those days. You got to go a little further out of that space. But the I'm going to say this word, the forced behavioral shift seems like that's the mentality they took when they were like going to build this. Like, well, people who are going to live here are going to just have that lifestyle.
Yeah, and then now you just narrow down the kind of person that you're going to get right there. If you put them to rent, you're going to get that certain type of renter that's going to like to walk, a far distance. That's okay. That says, hey, I'm tired. I'm getting out of work. I'm getting here at 6, 7, 8 at night, and now I have to walk because I have to park like 3, 4, 5 blocks away. Yeah. You're gonna have a special type of tenant now.
Yeah, and I think it does require there's some different. Well, for you and me, it might be a little bit of a different lifestyle change because I have kids who are I still drive some of them. You have grandkids now, and your kids are dropping off your kids. So like there's other things that maybe don't suit our life. That it might suit someone that lives in that area.
A single person probably, but somebody has family,
work from home,
kids. We like convenience. That's just not gonna be our cup of tea there.
All right, so the next thing is to agree, disagree. The biggest problem the local economy faces is a high cost of housing.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so another one was density. So I wanted to bring this up because supposedly a lot of people think that more density is good and needed as long as it's someone else's neighborhood. Oh. You heard the acronym NIMBY?
NIMBY. Not
in my backyard.
Yeah, of course, rich people, right?
Right. I don't know, but that's why I'm asking you. No. I'm not saying it's only rich people because you can go to other parts of town where maybe they're not as rich, but they're like, hey, you're blocking my view. Yeah. Rich or not rich. You live on the west side of Chula Vista or Imperial Beach, and you're looking at the horizon without a 2-story building in your backyard. Now all of a sudden it is. So this is where I'm like, what do we do? What do we do about people who are like, hey, now my view that I think is a part of value of my house is obstructed? Yeah.
Now let me rebuttal that, all right? When I say rich, is the rich, they just have multiple, they'll have acres and they'll just have a big home. And they live in a certain place because they don't want to be obstructed from their views. So they're very, cautious of that. Wealthy people, like even in our East Lake area and stuff like that, this area, which is considered more suburb, people want that space, and so they don't want to be obstructed with their view. But therefore, now they're very cautious. Like we have an HOA that's going to allow you where you can build. And if your home is in the front, they don't allow you to build, from your front to your front door over to the street. It's just not possible. You're going to have to build in the back. So if you're the homeowner, you want to build in the back, your view won't be obstructed, but they're in the back, they will, and so, yes, I mean, I hear a lot of that where a lot of people are like, well, my neighbor's going 2 stories high, like what's going on now? I can't sit in my pool, and bathe, with my Speedo. Well, that's your problem, right? Go get abs or whatever. You probably wouldn't mind. Seems like a very
specific example, but
because we heard that was one in San Diego. It was funny, and it came out on the TV and everything, and he mentioned it, like, I can't go and bathe on my Speedo anymore. Yeah. Well, that's because you probably don't have a 6-pack, because if you had it, you'd probably be like, look at me, right?
The neighbors are like, mission accomplished.
There you go. There you go. But these things are happening, Andy, and these things, will continue to happen. And so just because of that, it shouldn't, change the mindset of that investor that's looking to create affordable housing for others. And, because these people need it. And we already know we need it here.
So so attached to that is this whole, cost. Sometimes it can be cost prohibitive. Obviously, if someone has a lot of equity in their house, they're sending a lot of cash. Then you can convert the garage, build a second story, or build another unit in the back, or 2 units in the back. So, do you think that there should be some sort of cost mitigation when it comes to fast tracking permitting costs or fees and expenses? Do you think there should be some sort of compensation for the school, like you mentioned the school district fees a little bit ago? Should they be like decreased to try to encourage more people to build? Like what do you think are some good ways?
So they
to
do. That's a great question, and they do. They do. If you're building under 500 square feet, they minimize the cost of your permits and stuff like that. They do. But most people aren't just going to do a garage now. Because they're really encouraging you to do that bonus, and so now you have to go a little further and beyond. For instance, I'm doing the 2 ADUs in Chula Vista and my mother-in-law's old property that we purchased. And we're adding 1,800 square feet. We're adding additional It's going to be, you know, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and downstairs, 2-bedroom, 1-bath upstairs. And so if you look at the permit and the cost of all that, it was like $26,000. That's with
just for the permits.
Just for the permits. And we already know the average homeowner may not have that. It's not easy just to come up with a big chunk of change like that. Then you have to put the architect work right there, which is another $8,000 to $9,000. And then you have a engineer report. A lot of times that's about another $2,000 to $4,000. So, you know, it can get costly. It can get all the way to like anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 in just permits and architect work.
So do you think that I mean, because there's so many cost variables that go in, like you have labor and then material and all that too. So do you think that having some sort of compensation, I don't mean like subsidy for permits, but that they could be maybe less costly, would that be useful?
It would be very useful. It would give even more so encouragement for the average homeowner to go in there and just be encouraged to do these things.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I know that sounds like a stupid question where you're like,
no, it's not.
Would it costing less would be helpful? Yes, of course it is. What I mean is, but if it were to cost less, do you think this would bring people off the sidelines?
Absolutely.
And commit to actually building some more space.
Yeah. I mean, when we heard about the ADU in 2020, it brought us out. It brought us like, hey, we can convert now.
Fair point. No, you're right. That was, I remember.
No, and I get it. No, I get what you're saying, but it's very true. A lot of people don't know that. So it's very very valid question to ask. The only thing is, as this becomes more popular, the delay in getting your permits approved and all that have the tendency of being delayed a little longer than expected.
Yeah. And one of the things that I don't know, because they didn't mention it, because this is more of a survey and results kind of topic. But one of the things I don't know is how backlogged they are as the popularity of building ADUs has really grabbed on. Because, you know, you talked about the inspector a minute ago. It's like, okay, well, let's say they have like 20 inspections to do this week. Well, but then they knocked off those 20, and there's 30 more that just got added. So I don't know how long that tail is growing of upcoming inspections because of the popularity that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So.
What I did like right here with Ray Major, economist, it says, you know, they asked him the question about the whole ADU. He says the current ADU bonus program has proven to be disastrous policy, destroying our long-standing communities in the process. The program needs to be stopped immediately and reevaluated.
It's a pretty firm
Bro,
position.
I was like...
Well, yeah, and that's great. But what I want to know is, like, what are the things you want to have changed? Yeah. Because there's certain things you get and you give up when you get something. You give up something, you're going to get something. You get something, you're going to give up something. And so and it's not always equal. I think that, you know, that one of the other respondents, and I didn't mention it, but here we go. It was like, you know, we'd love to have this, and that, as long as it works out for everybody. It's like, you're not going to make everybody happy. Yeah. It's not going to happen. But the idea that, you know, the city needs more housing is the prominent point. Yeah. And then how you do that is where all these arguments come from. It's got to look a bunch of different
exactly
ways.
Just like anything else, you have people who are for it, against it. I myself, I'm for it, because if we really think about that, about, you know, what the future is going to hold, right? You just mentioned earlier, I have a grandkid. So for me, Andy, is it going to be easier for them to finance their home when they get to an age where they want to purchase a home, or is it going to be harder?
Well, it'll be harder in the marketplace, but because they have Papa Nemo, it'll probably be easier.
See, so the reason why
I'm going to make your grandkids call you Papa Nemo.
Papa Nemo. So the reason why I started, you know, building and putting myself in the inner circles of other investors that do ADUs and bigger, larger projects is because the way I look at it is, instead of them buying a home at 500, 600 a square foot, what if I can build at 200, at 250? That just saves me half. That becomes more affordable for my grandchild, my kids to get into a property, right? So now I'm just trying to break a different tradition of doing things.
Well, and all the while tucking those inside your personal portfolio and your trust, and that it becomes theirs anyways, right? So
absolutely,
you're basically self-fulfilling the things that they're going to self-inherit.
Exactly,
which is super smart.
You know what? It's hard when you're going through it. Everybody thinks, "Whoa, you're building. It's great." Like, trust me. Trust me.
That's when you're watching it from the screen. Oh, it looks amazing.
You have to do due diligence. You have to have the right team. You have to have the right project manager. Like, there's so much in place. But if anybody ever has questions with that, especially here, if you're locally, please don't hesitate. Give me a call and, pick my brain.
Like most things that are worth doing, it is not without its challenges.
That's exactly. But it's fun. It's fun. I just went yesterday to preview it, and I'm like, second story's going up. It feels good. It's like, this is pretty cool.
Those pictures are awesome. I can't wait to share them with everybody.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to the next article today. We have 17% of homeowners with mortgages have an interest rate of at least 6%, the highest share in nearly a decade from Redfin. Now, I want to make sure right out at the top here, we kind of qualify this. Yeah. The last decade would be since 2015. And in that last decade, mortgage rates were relatively low.
Yeah, they were in the 4 or 5.
So the kind of like the shock title of the highest in nearly a decade is not really a shock, because we're not talking highs of like mortgage rates in 10s and 12s. Yeah. It was, okay, they hit 8 in October of 2023, which was terrible.
Wow.
Right? But as you're going to see here in some of these charts we'll put up when we get to them, is the shift and the landscape of how people are holding the mortgage debt was dramatically changed because of 2020, which we know. But it is really slow to make new changes. It was really fast to make those changes during the shutdown, and now it's really slow to look any different at all.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have 17.2% of homeowners with mortgages have an interest rate greater or equal to 6, which means we have 82% that have an interest rate below 6.
Yeah.
And I think the reason of this shift is what we've been talking about, which is people, they've just needed to refinance. They've had to take cash out of their house, or some people had to move and go out of a high-cost area to a low-cost area. And then some of the things they reference in here, too, are just the reasons why people move. And I want to spend a little time on that one. But what's your initial response and reaction to kind of just learning this?
Yeah, no, my initial is like, I understand that. And, of course, we've been, in the last over 36 months, we've been in a higher rate environment. I mean, it more than doubled when you're looking at in 2021, the average interest rate was like 2.6, so it's more than doubled now. And we've been there for over 36 months.
Yeah.
So to see this is not surprising, 17%. And yes, it does show here that that's nearly 5% points from 12.3% in the third quarter of 2023. Yeah, it's increased, of course, because people, like you mentioned, that was my notes right here. People need to cash out. People understand that if my rate's going to be 6 or 7 or 8%, I might as well just cash out right now versus paying a credit card that I'm paying minimum payments at 15, 23, 32%. And here's the thing what people do not realize, Andy, on a credit card, nobody reads the fine print. But if your credit limit is $5,000 and you go above $1, you voided your contract. You're paying now that higher rate, and it says that higher rate can go anywhere from 33 to like 40%. So people don't realize that. They just say, it's okay. I'm already shopping. I don't want to be embarrassed. Just push it through, right? You're at the cashiers. Just push it through, and then I'll just pay it. Little did you know, you just put yourself in a higher interest rate environment. Read the fine print.
Yeah, that's a hard one. And, I'll cautiously say this, like we can help people with that, not on the credit side, but on the lending side. And we just had a case study recently that came up because Brian had talked about how he had helped a client save $2,722. So as part of our new kind of case study series coming out this year, Brian just kind of got us started with that. So if you want to watch that video, you can click the card up in this part of the video. You can watch that right there. But this is happening. And I think that the chart you're going to see on the screen right now, this is the evidence of that. It's kind of like a top of the fold and below the fold. Let me explain real quick. So on the very right-hand side of the chart, you see that blue bar. That represents 3.99%.
Yeah.
Everything below that is everyone who has a loan below 3.99%. And I want you to skip that kind of upper third section and go to the right at the top. That red bar represents people who have loans at 6% or higher. And you look at it's representative. It's more representative over the last 4 years, especially in this last 36 months that Memo's talking about. You can look at that red bar has grown bigger and become a higher percentage of rates above 6% as we've seen rates go up.
Yeah.
So you're like, duh, that makes sense. The data is correlating what you're seeing in the market. But again, unless you needed to do that, you didn't have to do that. So, this is to me kind of that like, it actually happens to be a red bar. So it's kind of like that little flashing red light. It's like, hey, warning, the market is up here and people are having to take that rate for whatever that reason is.
No, it is. It's crazy. I mean, we already know credit card consumer debt is over $3 trillion.
Wait, what? 3? I thought it was 1.2 trillion.
1.2. I'm sorry. Yeah, I went up. It was 1.6 trillion right now. The last that I saw, it went up to 1. I'm like 3. No.
I want to know what 3 trillion. So 3 trillion's in your head for something.
Yeah, no. It was a brain fart. But yeah, it's the highest debt we've been.
Wow.
It's like people are just we're living off our credit cards.
Yeah,
we're paying off debts with our credit cards. Banks,
debt with debt.
Debt with debt. We're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, but the Peter and Paul are just not working out. They're high interest rates
both
for
robbers.
Both, right? And it's not that they're robbers. It's just that's the only means that most people have right now because
I know.
We get so caught up with our current interest rate so low. I don't want to give that up.
Yeah.
It's just frightening to see these graphs, and data is everything. One thing you've taught us is go by data. Just don't talk. Like go with data that's actually supported.
And it's telling you something. And I mean, I know we're trying to be. I'm trying to be lighthearted about this, but like, look, people they come to us and they're having a serious problem because if they don't cure this like credit issue or debt issue, the house then becomes the thing that gets threatened.
Absolutely.
Because if you start becoming late on payments, then you can't qualify.
Yeah.
And if you start making late mortgage payments, well, now you're really sinking the ship. And then now what do you do? Like if you can't get qualified to do a refinance or a HELOC to pay off the debt because you can't afford to serve the debt, and then your house now becomes late, it's like quickly becoming this avalanche of problem, and then you're
funny you mentioned that. I had a client that gave me a call last night, very dear, like super, super good guy. But in June, we were trying to do a line of credit, but when your credit score is at a certain tier, you just won't qualify. Your credit's not there. At this point in time, he also didn't have a job, but he felt like everything just came upon him. I have my mortgage, I have all my credit cards. How do I go about this? Mind you, this person had, 700 plus credit scores. He was excellent. And to see that I'm just in need for $30,000, because I don't have a job, that's becoming difficult. My advice at that time was call your creditor. Call the credit cards. Tell them you can't pay right now. Avoid having a 30-day late on your credit cards. Some work with you. Some actually put in insurance and they put that on hold. They'll make it seem like it's closed on your credit report, which is okay. But some people think that, oh man, my credit's going to get even ruined even more so because now it's closed. Mm-hmm. Not realizing that a 30-day or a 60-day, 90-day would have a way
detrimental impact
on your credit. So fast forward, we couldn't do that line of credit. It just, you don't have a job. You can't prove repayment, and everything that has to do with loans, it's repayment. It just didn't happen. So fast forward, he ended up getting, yesterday I had a conversation with him. He had a job. He's got a job. Things are looking better for him, but his credit now, he's in the low 500s.
Oh man.
Hey, I need a line of credit. I just need to pay off $22,000. I just got money back from my taxes. I'm going to pay that. How do I pay my credit cards in order for it to impact my credit score the best, and so that I can qualify for a line of credit now that my credit's low. So first rule of, my advice is first pay them down on your credit cards below the 50%, just $1 below 50% of your high credit limit. That's right there a good start. Don't just go and pay one full off. Try to get them so that way you can have an even playing field with all your credit cards, right? So that's what he's doing. And then he mentioned, I have a home that I bought in 2022 in Vegas, and so I bought that at 230. I had to put 25% down to qualify. At that time, I didn't mention this, but back when we spoke originally, I didn't have a tenant in there. So I had to support that as well. Because I didn't have a tenant in there. I had to go through the eviction process, etc. So I'm like, oh my God. So at that point in time, I told him, you have the solution right there. What's the value of your property now? He said like 260, 280, and I only owe like 165, So you already know what I went with this. I say, you're not going to have capital gains because you bought it for $235. You're going to have realtor fees and all that stuff. So basically what you're doing is you're getting back that $25,000 that you originally put into it. And now that allows you to pay off all your debt.
Yeah.
So that was my approach is never get so freaking caught up with your investment.
Did he put
Learn to depart.
Did he put 25,000 or 25%? 25%. Well, yeah. So okay, that's a big, that's because he said his mortgage was only like 160.
Yeah, it's only 160, 65. So yeah,
minus costs and fees and closing costs. He's going to walk with what, maybe 70 or 80?
I don't probably. Yeah. I'm thinking less than that, but still, it's enough for him to pay that off. And then you don't have to worry about a tenant. You kind of refocus
And he has cash right away. Yeah.
Exactly. You focus on getting your credit where it needs to be. Don't acquire new debt.
Yeah.
And just don't get freaking, emotionally attached to your investments is what it is.
I want to make sure that this doesn't fly past people, because you're telling this story about the client that called you, but I want everyone to know, yes, we are the mortgage heroes, and yes, our job is to do mortgages, but sometimes the advice is you need to find a realtor and sell your house.
Yeah.
That is sometimes the only thing that can happen, and it's probably in some cases the only thing that should happen.
Yeah. And what it was is I go, pat yourself in the back. You have an investment.
Right.
Right now, that'll get you out of it, get your credit where you need to be.
Yeah.
And, as we move through things, it's now as investors, remember, we can do different type of loans with just 10% down, as an investor. So
I think that's super awesome. And I would not be surprised if people who are in this same benchmark of the higher interest rates are going to find themselves in the same situation.
Yeah,
so.
Talk to your local realtor, your local lender, and then just see what's your best, outlet on this in order to put yourself financially in a better position.
Yeah. For those of you that really want to nerd out on this specific article, you can check the description box below. You'll see it. It's the second article there, the one from Redfin. You can check out all the other graphs on that. But Memo, we're gonna continue. Does that sound good?
Cool. Let's go.
Next one here comes from Zillow, that almost 1 in 5 homeowners are considering selling in the next 3 years. We had touched on this last year, actually. So this came up in Q4 because we were talking about inventory a lot. But we had talked about what that meant for future inventory, what that meant and all that. So here's the most recent data, and this comes from the end of 2024. So this is the conclusion of 2024's final survey data, Q4. And you can see on the chart on your screen right now that it says 19% of homeowners already have their house listed for sale or are considering selling their home within the next 3 years. So it's essentially 1 in 5. But what was interesting to me is that 23% of urban homeowners intend to sell. So the urban are more so looking to sell than just the general timeline of selling. If you look at the next chart that's on your screen, I wanted to put this one up really quick. You have 48% considering selling in the next year.
Yeah.
And then you have the remaining 36%, or not the remaining, sorry, 48% selling next year, 36% in the next 2 to 3 years. This is inventory pipeline.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It looks like I was 48. That's pretty.
That's a lot.
Right here. Crazy.
That's a lot. I mean, that's a
is.
lot of people selling. And I've said this a lot of times, there's a lot of reasons people sell.
Yeah.
It's not just because of the almighty dollar. I mean, you just, in the last segment, you gave us a reference about this guy's got to sell. He's going to recapture his cash and he's going to pay off some debt and things like that. But, it's death. It's divorce. It's change of job. It's I want to move to a new city. My lifestyle's changed. I mean, there's all these other reasons that kind of generate this that are behind the numbers. So so you said crazy on your chart. Were you surprised to see that was that many?
I was surprised. It was 48%. I'm that was pretty crazy to think that.
What would you have thought was more reasonable on your expectation?
I thought it'd be. I would think it would be more I'm gonna say high 20s, low 30% of people, because you have a lot of people considering doing it, but a lot of times it's not making sense. For instance, I've thought about moving because I'm getting younger, right? And so I have a 2-story house. I would like a 1-story. And so it's just not going to happen because if I look at the 1-stories in the area that I'm at, I'm pretty much selling my home, putting all that equity into the next one, having a new payment. Because remember, your property taxes, I bought it when it was $565. So my new property, if I buy it at 1.82 mil, I'm going to pay property taxes on that. So my payment's already going to increase. Then consider the fact that also homeowners insurance. And I'm looking with something that's going to have a pool and stuff like that for the kids and stuff. That's going to be more costly. So my payment of what I'm paying now versus the new one, it makes no sense right now. It's more of a want versus a need, and so right now in these times, I'm going to focus more on the need, not the want.
Well, what's interesting to me is that, I shouldn't say it's interesting. It's more of that the thumb on the scale. Back when 2020 happened in 2021 and rates were on the floor and people were making offers over and above list price by a lot. It's kind of it's no surprise that because of the lock-in effect, less people want to move. Yeah. But I was also surprised that so many people are saying they're going to commit to move or that they're intending to move. Yeah. Because it also just means that the driving force is numerous. It's not just because of the rate or because of the price. And we get so stuck in the headlines talking about rate and price without looking below the surface at all to come up with any sort of rationale or reasoning to really put our thumb on the pulse of what's causing all that. in the article they talk about regional differences. Like I see you're checking it out right now. Is that the urban they have like a higher propensity for wanting to sell than the suburban, and I think a lot of that just has to do with lifestyle, just like we're talking about. And the rural is even less than that. Again, that's a lifestyle thing to me. That's not a money driven type of thing.
It is, and their families have grown. A lot of times, people who are going into the urban cities, right? They're single. And then they're going to a bar or a coffee shop or a cigar lounge or a club, and they find their significant other. And then next thing you know, usually people are having, that live there 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom max. And I've experienced it with several clients that live in downtown. They usually start with the 1 bedroom. And I was like, bro, I have a kid. I need to go somewhere else. And then downtown, it's not that easy to take my kid to school. So now I want to go more in the suburban area, So here we go. So, yeah, I get that. Even though, the urban cities have made it very attractive for people. They're pet friendly. They're very diverse now. You could actually watch, like, you go to downtown now, you could walk on the street.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there's just no way it was like that.
You get hit by a car.
But COVID has changed a lot of that, of how people conduct their business, and you can still see that.
Yeah.
People are they're blocking out because what are they looking at? It's more important for us to make it convenient for our clients to just kind of check, hey, it's right there. I'm just going to cross right now.
Yeah.
Versus going all the way down to the crosswalk, right?
Yeah, and if we cross-populate data that we've covered before, like just because this many people are looking to sell doesn't mean you're going to see prices plummet either.
No.
Because we don't see prices plummeting locally. They're not really plummeting nationally. And again, I reference this several shows in a row. Like the average price to closing price to list price was 98.1%.
Yeah.
So, even in here, they're talking about how, currently, where did I write down? Like currently, 17% of people have a price reduction on their home. It's like, that's not even, or 15%. Yeah. Sellers are doing price cuts, but it's like the price cuts are still half of what the average is.
That's correct.
Like 30 to 35% of a house houses listed are going to have some sort of price cut, and right now it's like 15.
Yeah.
So that's even low.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I'm startled. I'm excited. That's why I put pipeline inventory. Yeah. Like, this is going to be great because we're going to finally have some places to sell. I think affordability is going to be the roadblock.
The great thing is we're still not back to pre-pandemic levels in homes. We're at 600. Last I checked, it was 635,000 according to Alto's research that we have homes available right now.
It's like, when are we going to get back to pre? I mean, that's the question. It's like that. I think that's the $1 million question. When are we going to get back?
It's going to be a couple of years. What's caused that? If you notice this, Andy, it's been the higher interest rate environment. Yeah. The higher interest rate environment, and it even talked in somewhere in the article. This is home sales are at 30-year lowest. 30 years. We haven't seen this. And it's just because affordability. The average interest rate, it's been 7.25%. It's just dropped down recently the last couple of weeks because, there's Trump. Bring down your interest rates, right? And so even though he doesn't have a direct influence, there is an influence right there. The best analogy I can use is, a coach coaching his basketball team, right? And there's the ref. And the opposing players are continually following your guys. And you're like, ref, can you pay attention to that? Can you pay attention to it? Until he starts kind of blowing his whistle and say, that's the kind of influence Trump has in the sideline with Uncle Powell. It's like, yo, dude, the high rates are so high. Our market's not doing the best. Like, come on,
I'm not sure those guys are friends
you out
right
of here,
now.
ref.
I'm not convinced that they're friends right now.
They're not at all. Even though he hired him, which is crazy.
I know. And that's fine. But I was going to say, like, I don't know that they're going to end up being friends in the long run because the data's not on Powell's side either. I mean, the inflation data that just came out, this isn't that show, but the inflation data that just came out is higher than what they were expecting.
Higher than expected.
So now we have to leave the rates where they're at. So this whole make the rates lower, make them lower for the players on the field, not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Data's everything, like you said, and everything's everything's about the labor market.
Well,
and that hasn't weakened.
According, that's another one. That whole Bureau labor and statistics thing is driving me nuts.
We don't need to rebuttal this, but no. According to the data,
I know. So because here's the thing. Yes, I know. I take heat and incoming about it's the data. We're talking about data all the time, data dependent. But when the data's bad, it really bothers me because the data is what they're also saying they're using to forecast their decisions. So it's like, we're going to choose this if it's good and this if it's bad. But then, hold on, we're going to revise the numbers 6 months after we made our choice. And now we should have made the other choice. That's where it starts to really bother me because they're tinkering with these levers of the economy and it's messing some stuff up. Whether people want to admit it or not, Be honest with yourself.
I know.
It's okay.
Going back to the article here.
I only have one more point on this article, okay? It was my surprise in this, and you'll see this on the screen right now, is that homeowners with a 4 to 4.99 mortgage rate were the most likely to plan to sell their home.
Yeah.
Here's why I was confused, though. They're not like, they don't have the worst deal. It's definitely not the best deal, but it's not the worst deal.
Yeah.
But it's like a statistical outlier from all the rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what's behind that. I'm curious about it.
For me, what I'm thinking is I'm going to go more for the closer to the 4.99, right? They figure I'm closer to that 6%, right?
So it's not that much more than what I'm already at. Yeah, okay.
And if we look at down here saying 55% said they desire for an upgraded home with nicer features, that are influencing their decision. Some people are just saying, you know what? That home, that first startup home, and I always say when people are looking at homes, don't look at that home as your forever home. It's not going to be. Proven statistics, you're going to sell, refinance, or do something with your home within the first 4 to 7 years. It hasn't changed for many, many years. Yeah. People go into it, they're excited. It's my first home. I can visualize all this. But then when they get in there, they start seeing all the little details. Man, I would fix this. I remove that wall. And now you don't have the money.
I think I can count on one hand the people I still know in San Diego that have owned their house since like 1970 something when they bought it, or 80 something. It's only a few people at this point because again it's shifted more towards that sooner figure, 4 to 5, 6, 7 year. I'm doing something.
And and a lot of those people that do stay in their homes, I'm just gonna guess is their payment's comfortable.
Yeah, and they're typically older. They're retired. I mean, that's why I'm saying, me counting them on my hand, like I know that they've lived there their whole life. They're retired. Yeah. They did their career here in town, and they're just choosing to stay here. Like some of these people have their house paid off.
Yeah,
and and they have their tax base from 1973 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. 150 bucks.
You know how much taxes I pay?
Monthly?
I pay $300 in taxes.
And they're proud,
I'm
right?
like, a month? Like, no, a year.
No, I get it. I get
insane.
it. So that makes sense to me. For me, they're closer to that interest rate, what current rates are now, especially if you're a VA. Obviously, they have the lower interest rate. So it's like, you know what? I want to make that change. I'd rather be in a different school area or what have you. So that makes sense to me.
I semi-lied. I actually have one last point. Can I make a final point?
Yeah, go.
So on the last part of this article, they actually made a little category list of reasons to sell. And so it was broken into, like, I have new home needs and characteristic wants, family structure, or financial needs. Yeah. And one of the things is that I noticed here is that there's a couple of outliers. The very first one, want a home with upgraded or more desirable features, 55%.
Yeah.
That's pretty high. And then in that same category, I want more outdoor space.
Yeah.
The urbanization versus the rural versus the suburban. And then I found other homes that I prefer over my current home. Those are all over 50%. That's a pretty strong draw in that direction for those reasons.
Yeah.
If you skip down to the financial one, 49% responded to sell the home for a profit to use the equity for another purpose. And that was not for another home. That was like a different question. So that's a behavior change signal to me. That's like, again, that red flashing sign, like, hey, people are willing to sell their house for another reason. Like, guess what you just mentioned another segment ago? Yeah. That guy who's got to do that with his place in Vegas.
Exactly. Well, not only that, you have social media. It could be multiple reasons. It could be, I'm done with just owning a home. If I could take advantage of the capital gains because it was my primary home for the last 2 years out of the 5, and I can sell that and take $500,000 because I'm married, or if I'm single, $250,000. Where else do you have the luxury on an investment to be able to get that $250,000 or $500,000 tax free? Right? And then invest it somewhere else and never have to pay taxes on that. So a lot of people are getting smart and saying, you know what, maybe right now me owning a home isn't the thing. So what I'll do is I'll go back to just renting. I don't have much, my kids already gone. So I'm going to actually mitigate my cost of living. And then let me go invest it where now I'm going to retire better. So we don't know those things, but that's where I think right there, social media has a lot of influence is what I'm saying. And it's just getting people to think differently. I know I have thought differently because of it. I'm constantly trying to learn, improve, and be just better when it comes to finances, better when it comes to protecting assets, better when it comes to, putting my properties to work for me. So it all takes time, but you also have to have surrounding yourself with the right inner circle.
And not for nothing, I hear you say this at least once a week from down the hallway. I'm an old dog that likes to learn
new tricks.
See, you already,
New tricks.
You already know.
New
so
tricks.
I'm not surprised at all by your answer. So
I do like this though. I like the whole breakdown. I think this is a good share right here. It just gets
Isn't
different
that cool?
perspective to people. Yeah, I think this was a good article with that.
I like that it has a lot of details in it because there's a lot of different reasons and nuances which we talk about and we reference, but like it's neat to have it all like listed there and go, wow, people really do have a variety of reasons why they gotta do stuff. So not just to validate what we're seeing, but it just goes to prove the point. Like the headline doesn't tell anything. So
and I mean, Andy, just to go back to that, what we're talking about, it's true things that are happening in us. Like we're in the trenches. Day in, day out. So we're always constantly trying to figure out, especially right now when times are changing so drastic. Like we had ChatGPT, right? Everything good. Gemini comes out. Everything good. It's getting improved. And so then now they announced TikTok is going to be gone, right? And it was gone for just a few hours before it was back up.
Right.
And then China said, screw you guys.
DeepSeek.
You want to kick that? Right? How fast did that change, Andy?
It's like making my mind spin how like every day there's like some break. It's like it used to be breaking news was like something like earth shattering that happened once a month, once a week. Like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's amazing. That one thing happened. It's super outlier. There's like an outlier every day right now. It's just insane.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm disoriented, but dude, I'm trying to keep up as best I can. But man, I'm hustling.
It's a lot. And this is what happens. A lot of times we think like everything else has been invented. Do you ever feel like that? Like, dude, I can't think of something new because it's already been invented.
There's a story about this. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to make a different segment. I'm gonna follow up this. I'm gonna reference it here because I'm so excited. I don't know that you knew what you're saying. So there's this story that there was an effort to close the patent office back in like the 1800s. They said, well, we don't need the patent office anymore. Let's close that department of the government because everything that could be invented has already been invented. Isn't that crazy?
That's how it feels now.
I know, but it's not true. It's crazy.
There's so many young kids with brilliant minds that are coming out that they're just thinking so different.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because here comes DeepSeek thinking NVIDIA's everything and it's done so great. But if you look at their stock right now, look how it's plummeted. Because now they have another competitor in the field pretty much that's just making things way easier.
Yeah, but be honest with me. Part of that was it should have probably been corrected a little bit on its price anyways.
Of course.
This is just the culprit for why it ended up happening. I think in the end is what the story is going to be. But I mean, there was so much speculation. And obviously NVIDIA is doing good work. I'm not saying that they're not. It's not unvalidated.
I wouldn't be able to play my Xbox without it.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that it's completely invalid that their price has risen so fast. What I'm saying is that now that there's a competitor in, maybe it's right-sized their valuation based on what it actually looks like, not what it's just estimated and projected and hoped to be. So
but it's like game on, right? Now we have competition.
Game on.
Which is awesome. It's crazy.
So we're going to close up today with game off, which is homebuyer mortgage demand super off. A troubling sign for spring market. There's actually not a lot of like meat to this article because it's kind of pointing out the obvious for us. But I did want to just kind of reference that I'm not sure how much of the mortgage demand plummeting is people self-selecting out versus them like having already tried once, been denied, and just haven't come back, or been denied. So I don't know what you want to weigh in on that. Like, do you think that there's a large enough part of our population that's just saying, you know what, I already know I can't afford, so I'm not even going to try?
Exactly. Yeah.
You agree?
I agree with that. No, I agree with that. And, kind of like this is a thing with open houses when realtors do it too, right? Usually the people that come to your open houses, the majority are like, this has been proven many, many, many years, are going to be the looky looks, what they call it. It's people who already in the neighborhood have the same type of home and like, let me just look what they did.
The nosy people.
Right. I don't want to say nosy. It's just people who are curious to say, like, let me see what the home is selling for because they're probably unaware of that. Second, let me see what they've done with their home. Since we have the same one, did they break a wall? Did they make more space there? What does that look like? So I can get good ideas. Yeah, exactly. So I think, to put in perspective in the mortgage, I think a lot of people, we've been approving a lot of people, but once we give them the payment, it's like, whoa. Yeah. Whoa, wait. I can't pay $7,000. You know what I mean? I'm used to paying right now a rent right now $2,800, and I just had one right now $2,800.
Yeah, payment
and
shock.
he's like, my payment's $7,800.
Oh my God.
Right, $7,800. So he's like, even though he could afford it,
Yeah.
you know, his income was like $234,000.
Jeez.
You know, and it's just that's too much.
But a $5,000 a month difference is a $60,000 salary job annualized. That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's a payment difference.
And so those are the things that we're seeing, right? Even the people that are in the more affordable, in the 5 to 600 more range, we got to keep in mind their rental payment is a lot less too. And now they're looking at a payment $5,000-$6,000. It's like, whoa. Like that's where the reality hits in. So a lot of people I feel like a lot of people are also getting approved. They're just looky looks.
So this is where I get a little bit conflicted, because we talk a lot about a certain subset of topics. And I mean, we're already kind of cornered because it's mortgage and real estate related anyways. But what I mean is, like, when we talk about inventory, like, we need more inventory. We need more inventory. Well, but with that inventory needs to come demand. We go, well, there's lots of demand because there was a couple weeks ago, there was an open house where like 50 people were at it. And there's another open house with like 30 people at it. We're like, wait a minute. They can't all be looky-loos. Even if you take half of 50 and go 25. Okay, let's say of those 25, half of that are qualified. 12. Only one person's still going to buy the house. Yeah. That would leave, in this example, 11 more people back out looking again. So I kind of like ebb and flow a little bit, like, oh, it's an inventory problem. Is it really an affordability problem? It kind of says it's an affordability problem, but is it if all these people are out looking and there's a line out the door again? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's not everybody. There's some that are pulling the trigger. I know when I get people qualified right now, I tell them, pat yourself on the back. You should be very proud. Yeah. You know, because we've been at the 2025 already started at its worst affordability.
So what do you think spring's going to be like then? Because I mean, the thing in the article is like, hey, this is a troubling sign for the spring market.
Appreciation, you know, last week it was worse than expected. Yeah. You know,
inflation.
I'm sorry. Yeah, inflation was worse than expected. We're not going to see rates going down right now anytime soon. It can't. It can't.
Remember last year I was talking about how I think the quarters has shifted forward by a quarter. Like our summer happened in the fall, or like our spring happened in the summer, and our summer happened in the fall. By the traditional sense of the definition, like spring buyer's market, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be summer again. Yeah. So I don't know if it's completely the dial has shifted that quarter permanently, or maybe it's just temporarily because of the variables. But I think once again, we're going to have a weird spring, and then we'll see summer be that kind of uptick just a little bit. And then the fall again. The fall will be busy. Our fall was way busy. Remember August of last year was way busier than June,
but that was
and July.
Went down.
I know it was, but it's also at the same time that people are trying to also get wherever they're trying to get before school starts. So it's kind of those both at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, just to look at things, inventory was at 25% higher than, this time around than last year.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And here's another thing that most people don't know, but the whole nation has what's called a conforming loan limit, right? So anything that is below the conforming loan limit, the interest rates are more in your favor. That's where you can go with, 3% down, 5% down, and it's just you have more favorable terms as far as interest rate. So in 2025, it got increased to 806. In 2024, that was 766. And in 2023, 726. So the reason for this is because already our government's anticipating that home prices are going to go up, right? So when people are telling me right now, Will, should I buy right now? What's your take? I always say, listen, not because I'm under the lending, but if you could afford now, buy now, right? Because what's going to happen is I know we have in 2022, we had 240,000 homes available. And that's when we started seeing people putting $100,000 on top of whatever. We don't care. All the people we had a lot of people buying second homes from San Francisco, or either just selling and coming over here and saying like, damn, I'm getting way bigger. I'm going to put $100,000. I don't care. This is going to be my forever home. Right. I'm retiring soon. Yep. So that's the kind of impact that we're going to start having. So luckily right now we have 635,000 homes, which gives more options to the first-time home buyer. And at the same time, I know it's a stinker that you're going to have a higher rate. But remember, you could always refinance the rate, but you can't buy that same home for a cheaper price later down the line.
You can't buy it cheaper in the future. Yeah.
So that's the thing. And if you look at the data, conforming limits continue to go up. because you remember when we first got in this industry, 417 was the norm for years.
It was 417 forever.
Forever. It just seems like in 2013, 14, it started kind of changing, Yeah. And so, but it was like that forever.
Yeah. I don't actually remember the first year that it went above 4. I don't remember what year it was. I'll have to go back and double check because I haven't like locked that number in. But I mean, just you mentioning it went from the high 700s to all the way up to past 800 now. Like that's an indicator. That's like a shot across the bow, everybody.
Yeah.
We don't expect prices to decline. And we're not seeing prices decline. So, and again, the conforming loan limit is a different basket of money than your jumbo market. Where the scarcity of the money is what drives the interest rate higher or lower. So in that conforming bucket, there's more players in the game, there's more money. And that's also where you have the government agencies behind it, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and that kind of thing. So I didn't want to bring this up to talk about, but I don't know what's happening with them next. I don't know what's going to occur with them because, again, here's these government agencies and everything's under the microscope right now. So I have no idea what's going to happen with that either.
They may just freaking, leave it out, put it in conservatorship, and so.
Yeah, that was a conversation we had a couple of years ago. Remember that?
So it may be getting closer to that.
Out of conservatorship. Oh my gosh.
So that's the thing, right? Right now, it's going back to the buying. It's like you should be buying when nobody's buying. And it comes back right here. Home sales are running at a near 30-year low. And house prices naturally continue to hit record highs. That's telling you something. So these people who are on the fence and you're already approved, get out of that fence. I'm telling you, buy when nobody else is buying, sell when
no one's selling. This reminds me that I think it's a Warren Buffett quote, isn't it?
When everybody's buying.
Oh, well, sorry.
It was like, when Henry Ford heard the shoeshine boy talking about stocks, he's all like, this is when I'm selling.
This is
You know what I mean? You got to do the reverse.
What's the Warren Buffett? It's be greedy when everyone's fearful and be fearful when everyone's being greedy.
There you go.
Something like that, right? Is that the term?
Yeah.
I think that's the quote. If I have it wrong, you can blast me in the comments, but to take it easy. I know I could look it up. I'm not going to look it up. You can look it up.
Yeah. But no, thank you for this.
So, Memo, I want to close out our 101st show. So, this has been so awesome. By the way, if you're catching us now for the first time, or maybe you didn't see last week's show, we did our 100th episode of the Mortgage Heroes podcast. Took a quick look back at our first couple of shows, man. It's really changed a lot. I think crazy moment.
I think when we first started, it was more like we just wanted to be so professional, you know what I mean? It's like, and now we're just having fun. We just want to share the information, and we're coming from our hearts we think this is important stuff to know.
Yeah.
Especially if you're being a homeowner, like these are good things. Like start learning to protect your assets. Start learning just to pay attention to the data that's that you're given. Don't listen to all the media. Do your own research, right? Like make sure that you're getting credible people where you're getting your data from.
Well, I mean, look, even if you guys all just pulled these 4 articles and read them on your own, never asked us a question, you never know if we thought these were good ideas or bad ideas. And if we never did the show, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't be able to share that with everybody either. Yeah. So it's kind of like that hand in hand. And the landscape has totally changed now from the way it was when we first started. And I'm just really in awe that we're this far in. But I also am super proud at the quality of what we're doing and what we're helping people with. Because one thing I've noticed, and this is my final parting thought, is that one thing I've noticed by us doing this show is that we don't always know when you need help until you tell us. Yeah. But because we show up in your inbox every week, and because we show up on the channel every single week, sometimes you guys raise your hand in droves. So like multiple people, oh, I need this, I need that. And so to us, it is valuable because until you tell us that you need help, we kind of really don't know. And so I feel a sense of responsibility and duty to our clients and to our future clients of knowing, of being here and showing up so that whenever you do need us, you can find us.
No, I'm glad you say that. I've had several clients call us and said, thank you. When on my drive to work, I listened to this, I learned new things that I thought I had figured out. And it's like, oh, dang, no. Yeah. I don't. I got to pay more attention to certain things.
And we're learning new things. This forces us to continue, keeping our finger on the pulse, of course, but also just learning new things and making adaptions and changes. So,
as a matter of fact, today I will be leaving at 6 all the way to 8 o'clock to learn more in depth about trust, revocable and irrevocable, because I want to be a resource to all our clients that are out there that are not protected. I want to put them in the right room with the right person to be able to protect their assets, because it's all about that. Keep what you have and, secure it for your other generations to come.
Old dog, Nutrix.
That's it. That's it.
Best part of the show today.
Best part of the show, I love my ADUs. I'm building. I get so excited. Yesterday when I went, I saw the second story going up. I was just so, because that is something I never, ever thought, Andy, I would be doing in my life. I know that I did my ADUs, the other ones, they were small. But when now I'm building second stories and just visualizing what it's going to look like and then understanding the exit strategy of bringing elderly care to it, it's just like, dude, I'm just like, I feel like I'm doing something for myself, for my family, for the generations to come, and especially for my community.
Yeah.
And I'm just
awesome.
like proud of that.
Good. I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
It's a great example. I can't wait to tell the whole story, top to tail, of the building of the ADU and then what it's become. So that's gonna be fun for me on the creative side because I get to kind of put my hands on some editing over there, and that's gonna be pretty cool. Mine today actually is the incoming inventory pipeline. I was honestly, of all the things we covered today, I was so surprised that 48% of the people that responded said they're gonna sell next year.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a lot. That was way more. I was more like biased, like you were thinking. I was
biased
towards like the 20%. Like I think it's maybe, 1 in 10.
Yeah.
Maybe. But to see that 48% are intending to sell in the next year, honestly, is refreshing. I was surprised, but it was refreshing too because we really just need inventory.
Yeah, we need inventory.
I think that's what it's all about. So
absolutely.
Thank you for another great show today. Thank you for everyone who continues to tune in and watch. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you see every episode we release. And then if you have not yet checked out our shorts, we actually produce shorts every single day of the week. So you'll get little sound bites and snippets from excerpts of our show on the Shorts channel. And then lastly, if you have not yet checked out our Friends of Mortgage Heroes playlist, we have a playlist of our interviews with friends in and around real estate. And we have some really fascinating guests that are maybe on the fringe of real estate, but from this area that are prominent, I'm going to say. So more on that because we have an upcoming episode releasing in a couple weeks that is pretty exciting for me personally.
Yeah, I'm excited for our next guest, the next couple of them. You don't even know this, but I have a third guest. Bro, I'm like super excited.
Yeah. So check out the Friends of Mortgage Heroes playlist, and then also last reminder, our case studies playlist. So every month, Will and Brian are going to be bringing real life examples of success stories inside mortgage and real estate through our case studies playlist. You can check that out there. Our first one's up, second one's on its way, and you're going to see more of those rolling through for the rest of 2025. So Memo, thanks again for a great show. Thank you all for watching. Yeah, Kate behind the off camera. Kate, you're doing so good. I'm so proud of you as a dad. I love you very much. All right, y'all. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you again next week.
See ya. If you like this video and like to subscribe, click here. And if you want to watch other videos, click here.